right, people, welcome to another Wednesday evening Mandem Chat. Tonight, we've got a very special guest on the Mandem Chat. We have a multi-award winning author, philanthropist, motivational speaker, presenter, podcaster, PR expert, model, and co-founder and CEO of BlackWallst.media and the Strength Within Me Foundation. It's my old friend, Dr. Diahanne Rhiney in the building. Welcome, Diahanne.
Thank you for having me.
Is there anything more to put on there?
I sometimes wonder who you're talking about, but yes.
Bless you.
So where, I suppose it's where do I start, isn't it? Or are you going to ask me some wonderful questions?
We should start from
the very beginning.
From the very beginning, a little bit of your
history,
background.
Yeah, backstory and stuff, innit?
Yeah.
And then
for those who don't know, I was born in Luton, and I'm a very big champion of Luton, and because I feel it gave me my real foundation about community, which is really important to me. I grew up initially in Marsh Farm, and we may not have had lots of money, but what I had was lots of love, which really, when I look back, has set me up for where I am today. My father worked at Vauxhall for a number of years, but always had a dream to become a professional boxer. Many people laughed and didn't think that he could make it. But what it showed me from a very young age was resilience, persistence, self-belief. He was very disciplined, and even now he's still very disciplined, but he's very disciplined. And it also showed me that if you really believe in your vision, your dream, you must really go for it. And there's sacrifices, isn't it? Yeah, because he used to work in the factory, then he'd train, and then he'd come home. So he didn't have as much time with us in the week as probably we would have liked. But those are the sacrifices you make, isn't it? And my mum was, I always call her the fairest but the blackest militant woman, and she was all about letting us know that we came from kings and queens. So we were well read about Black history, about our culture, about our heritage, about where we came from. And I think once you have a very clear view of where you come from, you have an idea of where you potentially could go. And so that's what gave me that good grounding. And then I just loved the Black community back then. I know it's really changed now when I go back. I'm like, I like to go to Mrs. Henry's and get my patty and, all of those. Everybody would really stick together. And it's only now as you get older that you realize how fundamental that was. And I loved the mix of generations. And I love to listen to the stories of the older generation. So yeah, I loved that. I went to Chorley Girls. And when I went, it was not that many of us Black and brown children back then. But academically, I did well. It's a good school academically. But yeah, so unfortunately, I left Luton quite young, 16, 17, more because I wanted to chase my dream and I wanted to study. And initially, I wanted to be a fashion designer. And I did that for a year at the London College of Fashion, but realised it was such an elitist and racist environment back then. Apparently, it hasn't changed that much, but at the time, it was really, really bad. And that's when I changed my dissertation and my actual path into writing about fashion. So that's where PR and journalism came in. And what I quickly realized is the power of media, the power of being able to influence people. And it also taught me, especially through my father, when he did become a championship boxer, how everything you read is not always what it is. And I always said to myself, when I become in a position where I represent people, I would be telling the truth. And that's why my agency is called Naked Truth. It's all about, it's not about spin, it's about real things. And we only work with individuals or organizations that has a social impact, that has a real social message. So if you want spin or things like that, we're not the agency to come to. You've got to show me that you really intentionally want to do something what's going to give back to the community that you serve. And the company started very small, just me initially, as they say. So, I remember when I first got a call, the phone actually rang and I was like, hello, how can I help you? And then they said, oh, can I speak to Diahanne Rhiney? And I said, yes, hold on a minute, And then I waited for what I thought was the right amount of time to wait before I came on the phone. Oh, yeah, and I think about that, and I was like, hello, like trying to change my voice a bit. But yeah, and I remember when a few months in, I hadn't had my first client. And I remember ringing my mum and saying, if I don't pay the mortgage for 1 month, will they take my house? And she said, no. Why are you asking me that? Because I was like, oh my God, office, rent, this, that, all this and juggling, thank God I didn't have to make that decision because I got my very first client. And I didn't need to make that decision. But I always say to people, when you start a business, it's tough. It's tough. But I was raised, build your own table. Build your own table, because still when I look at media and PR, we're 7%. Black people are 7% of that sector, which is absolutely disgraceful. Yeah. Mm. So when I've never really worked for anyone, so I tell everybody I'm unemployable. Yeah. But I would definitely say to people, build your own table. If there's something that like one thing, I love my community. I love being a person of Jamaican, Caucasian heritage. I love it. But sometimes my community, we moan, but we don't put action. And to me, you can have vision, but I say to everybody, vision or dreams without action are nothing but dreams. You have to put the action behind it. And that's why when you start a business, there's a lot of sacrifice you have to make, and you have to be intentional. And, instead of me complaining that there's only 7% of Black people in the sector, I thought, let me do something about it. And the only way that I could do something about it is by building my own table. And I remember saying, there's so many PR companies out there. What can I do to make myself different? Now, I've always been very big on social justice. I hate, what is wrong, isn't it? And I know it sounds like a basic thing, but it absolutely gets under my skin. So I'm all about doing what's right. And so I set up 30 years ago, it's 31 years old this year. I set up my agency, and we are the first media marketing agency to specialize in social impact and diversity. And that's before diversity was this buzzword. Yeah. So that was, it's nice to know that you were the first to do something and that you were a trailblazer, but it did start to open doors for us. And now I've got a many offices in different parts of the world, and a large staff team. And I can dictate the culture and the ethos of my business. You know, it's allowed me, because I'm often asked, oh, what does success look like? You know, or how do you feel about being successful? And I think successful is very subjective. And money has never been my God and never will be, you know. So for me, success is that I'm able to pick up the twins from school and listen to their conversations in the car going home, that I don't have to miss a parents' evening. Gives you choices. That's what success is for me. It's not
The
about
time is your own. Yeah.
the money, yeah. You know, but for me, it's about being able to spend times with the people that I love and care about. And I think that is something that people should always keep in the forefront of their mind. It's also allowed me every year, you know, it's so funny because I'm actually, even though I'm in media and I'm often on a stage speaking or doing some sort of TV or something, I'm actually quite shy and quite, but I love my own space. I do like my own space. And I like that, the quietness, because I just like that time where you can get to really enjoy. That's what it gives you, the time to enjoy your so-called success, and gives me the time to be able to do that. Mark, you've put up your hand.
Yeah,
What is your question?
Go ahead, brother.
I just wanted to go back a little bit, Diahanne, you know, because obviously I remember your dad. I don't really know him. I know he's friends with my brother. I remember meeting him a couple of times.
Yeah, he's very good friends with your brothers. Yeah, and I think one of your brothers has got him in their book.
Yeah, I remember him coming round to my brother Silburn's house one time. And obviously I know your mum very well. One thing I remember about your dad, actually, I remember when your dad actually lost the title. He was your welterweight champion.
Yeah.
A brother called Dave Boy Green.
Dave Boy Green. Yeah. And you know what? It's so funny.
I hated that man ever since, all through my life. You know, this guy, Dave Boy Green, you know, because I just remember everyone just being so pissed, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
when Henry lost the title, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, let's call it, for those of people who are into boxing, because I am, it wasn't as straight a fight, let's just put it that way. There was things that you find out later, you know, as you grow up.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because I was at an event in London, and this man kept staring at me, and I was thinking, what did this man? What do him? I'm looking at me like that for, right? And then he came up to me and he says, I see that you're speaking at this event. And I'm thinking, yeah. He says, my name's Dave Boy Green.
Wow.
And I went,
Wow.
oh, like, you know, like, and you know what? He kept saying that he really wanted to get in contact with my dad. And I don't know, it's like, I don't know if it's about to say sorry. It was just so, you know, when it's like someone's about to die and they need to get something off their chest or do something, you know. He was, you know, he was very pleasant and stuff, but he was insistent that he really needed to get in contact with my dad. I know that my dad and him have met since, but that was a really, really bizarre coincidence. And he kept saying your dad was such a great boxer, and as everybody always said, he was like a gentleman in the ring. He was that kind of boxer, and he's still the same. He's just such a gentle giant in a lot of ways.
In your memory, because I can remember it. I could remember it verbatim. Even it was on Sports Night or something.
You know? I remember I was in my little pajamas, mate, going yeah. And then after, when I was like, oh, you know,
about 40 years ago, and I remember it. I really do.
My dad still talks about it now.
Does he?
Really?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
my dad and your dad are good friends still, but
Mm.
yeah, he still talks about it now.
And obviously
So
your
go on,
mum,
Mark.
Caroline, you
Mhm.
know, lovely Caroline, rest in peace, you know.
Yes, I
Queen,
know.
Your mum was a
queen,
great lady, regal,
very regal.
like a queen, wasn't she?
Definitely, yeah.
She really was, and I don't say that because she was my mum. She just had
No, no.
such
I think
qualities.
everyone would say that, innit?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Desmond, did you have a question? You have your hand up.
Yes. Greetings, Dr. Rhiney.
Mhm.
First question: are you Henry Rhiney's son, a daughter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember back in them days. I used to work at Vauxhall as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he was one of the kind of local hero.
Yes,
That's
that's
right.
what they say.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I remember many of those fights, and the one with Dave Boy Green.
Mm,
Yeah, the Bruiser.
mm,
But
mm.
the question I wanted to ask was, who were your early clients when you started out your business?
Funny enough, my
Where
early
did you say
clients,
they came? What background did they come from?
they were really mixed. So I used to work with Trident back in the
Mhm.
day, and that was around at that time about knife crime.
Yeah.
I've worked with the NHS in regards to getting more Black and brown people to donate blood. We've worked with huge corporations in regards to changing the landscape of the way in which recruitment of certain top organizations and getting more Black and brown people on board. I've worked on prostate cancer, and really educating particularly Black men and about getting themselves tested. I've worked on bowel cancer. Um, I've worked on many stuff and had many
So they were your
big
early
and
clients.
small.
They were your early
Yes,
clients.
so my clients was things like Trident, Metropolitan Police, and because
Yeah.
it's all about social change. So there's a lot of big corporations or wants to take on issues that affect society. And then so we will take them on. So like I said, like blood.co.uk was one of my early clients, the army, clients like that.
Okay.
Brother Andrew, you had your hand up.
I did. Can you hear me okay, guys?
Yep, can hear you.
Hello, Andrew.
Hi. Firstly, my apologies for joining so late. My little people, I had to look after my little people, so just in case you see my little daughter
I hear
getting
you.
and yeah, I've just caught the tail end of your speech. So forgive me if I've got my facts. So you're a doctor of what's your
Psychiatry. So I work in the mental health field.
right? Okay. And I joined and heard you're very passionate about boxing. So
I am.
in regards
Most sports, to
to
be honest.
most, okay, but especially in regards to boxing, so you're very passionate about boxing. Is there ever a conflict of interest? Sometimes we know the argument about the potential damages to boxing and the like. So is there ever a conflict in regards to your passion for the sport that you love, but your profession as a psychologist as to
I
the
would
potential
say,
damage that because of boxing?
yeah, no, I would say no, because it's like anything. I get in my car every day. And when you get in your car, it's the most dangerous thing you do every day without thinking about it. Yeah. It's a sport. And, we can only put safety around that sport. And rugby, you could break your neck. Horse riding, where does it stop? It's about people putting measures in place, like the new laws within boxing, where before they'd be punching the lights out of each other, and the referee wouldn't step in. Now that they have to step in a lot sooner. So No, I don't see it as a conflict at all. I absolutely love. I used to go to Madison Square Garden, watch it all the time. You know, I've just always been around it. And actually, I love the reason what I love about sports psychology is about the discipline. You know, sports people, you know, are just so disciplined at their craft. The training, the dedication, the mental agility they have. I absolutely often are in awe of sports people because of the dedication it takes. So yeah, no, I don't see it as a conflict.
Okay, that's good to hear. Because I think that's what I was trying to kind of get to. Because I think sometimes people don't. You probably get people kind of jump on the bandwagon, so to speak. You know, they just take the tagline that boxing is dangerous without kind of really looking into the actual kind of science of it, so to speak.
Yeah. But so many things are dangerous, isn't it? Like I said, we get in our car every day, and more people die on the road every day. And it's something we get in our car and we do. We don't even think about it, you know. But I think if I was to think about it in that way, you wouldn't do anything. You wouldn't do anything. You wouldn't even come out your house.
Okay. Thank you.
Diahanne, thanks for coming. BlackWallst.media. Could you tell us a little bit more about?
Yeah, see, like I said to you, I'm very passionate about my community, and I'm very passionate about issues that affect people who look like me. So BlackWallst.media is a media platform that represents the diaspora.
Right.
So we write stories that is our true voice. It's not us being written about and being spun in a way that suits the rhetoric of what Western world want to believe.
Right.
So we take news from all over the diaspora, from Africa, from the Caribbean, from the UK, you know, and we represent the stories and get information out there, which often we're denied. So I really like to say is that it's news about our people, from our people, and written about from our people.
Our reality.
Yeah. And like I said to you, media is very powerful. Media, and for someone who's been in the industry for so long, it's really, it can be really dangerous of how mainstream media push the rhetoric. And people don't look at and see the subtle discriminations that go on. I mean, recently there was that awful. It was really interesting, and in Wales, you know, there was that recent accident where the 5 young people were in the car and 3 died.
Right.
Yeah. Which awful. I couldn't imagine as a parent what that feels like to lose a child. But then when I read some of the news reports, which I found very interesting and disappointing, is the young mixed race guy, I think he's mixed race, who died. His dad used to be a professional footballer for Wales. And it said, oh, the son of blah, 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 you know, losing his son, left the football because he was a drug dealer. He got found. I thought, what has that got to do with this man
tragedy? This
has just lost his son, and whether his dad is a drug. I mean, relevance?
It's not.
And then when we look at news and we read it, they always, where it's us, you always know when it's a black person. But if it's not a black person, they don't mention the colour. They don't mention lots of things. And that's what I'm saying. It's about the rhetoric that's pushed. And people need to wake up and look between the lines. You know, even in the headlines, You know, I remember when there was another case that I was studying in the media, and the way when they write it about us, we have to have done something wrong. Even when it's something trying to be a positive piece.
Yeah, the way they put it across, isn't it?
It's the way that they put it across. And I'm like, it's like when they talk about hoodies and gangs. And I've worked on projects in Glasgow, and most of the gangs up there, which are some of the worst gangs,
That's right.
don't look like us.
That's right. Yeah,
Do not look like us.
I saw you do a TEDx. What was it? Youth at Glasgow. And we chatted to them about breaking the internet. That was really good.
Yeah. I mean, they don't tell you all of these stuff, you know, and I just feel that us as a community, as a people, need to hold them accountable, because, you know, when you look at London or even in Luton, that is not the norm of the UK. You know, when you start going up north, they don't look like us with real diverse mix of people.
And they're still getting involved in a lot of
whatever they read and whatever they hear, they believe it.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody with a hoodie is black and is a gang member. No, they're not.
Do you think complaints are made to the BBC by members of our community for how they portray us in films, in the media, on programs?
No, I don't think so. But I also think, you know, I'm going to just say it as it is. I think our community also needs to take some responsibility, because they try to mimic this narrative, you know, and I'd be like, but why are you dressing like that? You know, I'm not saying that you can't. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah,
because I'm sure even when it comes to knife crime, obviously, when it comes to knife crime, they try and label, you know, the black youths to be the worst, and you know, a lot of us are involved in this. But I'm sure the knife crime capital of UK is like Liverpool or somewhere like that, where it's mostly
that's what I'm saying. It's up north.
People.
Proper gangs, like, but you don't hear this. You don't hear the narrative, you know, unless you're in media or in something what deals with young people on a regular basis. You won't get to hear. You won't get to hear those stuff. So what you're pushed from a media point of view, that's all you're gonna. It's all you're gonna. It's like, I'm not being funny. It's like the other day I was speaking to someone about, you know, the Gary Lineker thing, and I was thinking, if that was somebody who looked like us,
different scenario.
They'd be sacked.
Yeah,
no chance on
if John Barnes said it, or
cut.
I'm telling you. I mean, that is the reality. We know that when we do something, unfortunately, it has a bigger consequence for us. But I do think, you know, one thing with us that we complain sort of amongst ourselves, but we don't put it into action. You know, and you know, and ask yourself this question, and I've often asked myself, you know, like, you know, I hate to go to America for this, but at least in America they have a leader. You have your Al Sharpton, you have people who are drivers. In this country, think about it, who are our drivers? Who are the people that we would?
Is it because there ain't none, or we won't accept any?
Yeah, but Diane, I think that's an unfair comparison.
Why?
Because I was going to say why. Because we've only been en masse since the 60s. There have always been black people here in Britain over the last 2,000 years or so. But in terms of numbers, we've only been here since the 60s, and there was a lot of barriers put up to us, and we were distanced from our kith and kin. And many of the men who came in the 60s were isolated. And later on, when they did send for their spouse, a lot of that ended up in a lot of domestic abuse and so forth. So realistically, we've only had about 50 years to organize ourselves from where we started. Where in America, Black people been there for some 400 years in numbers. So they had a longer time together, and segregation did benefit Black people in America because it forced them to work together. And that was the result of the 60s civil rights movement.
See, I hear you, Desmond, and I know the history, but I don't agree that I'm talking about we're now 2023.
Well, that's not long.
Yeah, no, but we're now in 2023, and I could name you a good 5 young Black, particularly that happen to be male, majority of the ones, who are progressive, who have taken this conversation to a next level, who I find that this new younger generation are much more militant, actually work together more than my age group, definitely.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, we can always keep saying about, yes, we haven't had enough time and we can look to the past, but I always say, but when do you put the fork in the sand? Where do we start from? I've been lucky. I remember interviewing Coretta Scott King. Yeah, so Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife, before she died. And some of the messages that I will never forget in interviewing her. And she says it started with, she said, my husband he wasn't the person he wanted to be, the front person. Do you know what I mean? That wasn't his initial mission at all, you know, but it starts from someone putting their head above the pulpit in whatever sector or area. It doesn't have to, you know what I mean? Like people think, oh, I have to be in politics. No, you don't. It could be something in your own community. Yeah, go on.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Sorry. Let me just ask this quick, and then because I see Andrew's got his hand up. Sorry, Andrew. But so is it because no one from our community has put their foot forward, or is it that even if they've put their foot forward, they haven't been accepted by the community? We're not prepared to take the leadership.
I think you hit a very good point there. I don't like to say things outside of my community, but sometimes it's that crabs in a barrel, and sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. I always say to some people, we need to get out of our own way, if you know what I mean, which is unfortunate. And we could go into the psychological reasons about the historical trauma that we're going through. I mean,
how long are we going to live on that?
Reasons for all of it. But when do we say enough is enough? You know?
Right.
Andrew?
Sorry.
Andrew, go ahead.
I think just kind of following on from what you were saying there, Diane, as well. I think the issue sometimes as well is that we have to kind of realize when our egos are being stroked, because we talk about hoodies and the gang and that sort of thing. The truth of the matter is, in this country, in America, is let's face it, Black is cool. Black can be cool. Black can definitely be marketable. You think about the clothes, the music, etc. Black can be marketable, and that strokes our community's egos to a point. And like you're talking about there, Diane, the media will take that, and Black is cool and Black is so to a point. When it gets negative, that's when they throw it back in our faces. But they don't want to completely throw it back in our faces, and to the point where we would say something, because then they still want to profit from the coolness of it, the marketable,
definitely,
the money of it. And that is where we kind of have to sometimes not let our egos get carried away and just be drawn in by the pound signs or the dollar signs. As you said, something needs you're absolutely right. For our generation here that's in this room now, the generation before us, you know, I mean, my father was born in 1927, you know, 96 years old. So imagine what he has seen in his 96 years from the time he was born to now. You know, he's got great grandchildren. You know, he's got great grandsons who are 10 years old, or going to be soon 10 years old, and he can't guarantee that those young boys will have a better life than he did as a 10-year-old growing up in the Caribbean, and that's almost 100 years. You know, so what have we done to kind of, make a change for them? As you said, you know, but because our egos are being strong, it's it's cool to be black, and even when they had a black president, the emphasis was, oh, how cool could it be, or how cool is he speaking? Yeah, how cool is he? Instead of letting him get into and try to make changes for America, it was, oh, look how cool he is, and look how beautiful, and look how beautiful his wife dresses, and how smooth he talks and how smooth he dresses. You know what I mean? And we have to kind of let go of our ego at some point and start making a stance if we really want to make a change.
Yeah, but I also think as well that we can all do stuff to affect that change. So when my mum died, my mum was very big on education. Yeah, she used to say it's the one thing that could potentially get you out of poverty. Yeah, so I thought, what can I do to pay it forward? What little bit can I do to help to find this next generation of leaders and stuff like that for our community? So I sponsor 3 young Black young people every year. I pay for all their university fees. So 3 people every year I sponsor. And some of those, and yeah, I'm not Stormzy, and people say, oh, but you should talk about why you do that. No, I do it quietly because I just want those young people to know that somebody believed in me at some point in my life. Somebody poured into me, and I will pour into them. All I can do is do my little bit, and some of those have gone on to become doctors, lawyers, in now positions of influence, and we talk about, and it's not just about academics. I always say to people, you don't have to be academic, because there's many of us have different gifts that can propel us into great spaces. But what I do think that we need for our younger generation is that thing of knowing who your core purpose is, walking with, as my mum would to say, when I enter a room like you've arrived. Do you know what I mean? Being very clear of who you are. I spoke at Morehouse in America, the first all-Black college. Yeah, this was the men's. Spelman is the females. And when I left, I cried, and people said, "Why are you crying?" I said, because what we are missing here, and that has to come from us, like as parents, as uncles, as cousins, is those young Black men walked around that college with such purpose, confidence, knowing who they were, who they are, where they come from. It was just beautiful. Beautiful. Whereas when I speak to, because I work with young Black men, I've worked within them in prisons. One of my mentees and Kenny Macedon has a thing called my brother's keeper in prisons, where again, it's all about paying it forward. And it's just, they just don't have that. They don't walk with, you know what? I deserve to be here. I do come from kings and queens. I know who I am. I know my history. I know blah, 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 blah. And it's just those little things that we could mentor somebody, sponsor someone, open doors for them, let them know that they are amazing individuals. Because that goes a long way. It's about your state of your mind. Because I believe if you feel broken, it's hard to then go on to achieve on a level if you're feeling broken. or
Yeah.
you know, or you say to yourself, oh, you know, this happened because I'm black. And yes, there's lots of things that have happened to me because I'm black, trust me. You know, but I can't wallow in it. I've got to say, okay, if I can't go over, I need to go under, left, right, some way. But there's going to be a way that I'm going to conquer this. Yeah. But that's because I come from a place feeling empowered and knowing who your tribe is around you. See, like this, I think Mandem Jet is a great thing. It's, you know who your tribe is, because you need to know that. You need to know what people are saying about you when you're not in the room, who champions you when you're not in the room.
True.
And that's why you need a good tribe to do that. I say, I didn't get to where I did by myself. I had a tribe. Even now, I have people say, that was rubbish what you did, Diane. You need to check yourself. Or, you know what I mean? I have people who just keep me in check. Trust me.
Support system.
And I think also as well, sorry, if you don't mind me saying, I think also as well, I think where I believe through my own kind of philosophy is that we are in a position to define what success is, because success as it's been kind of given to us may not suit our rhetoric and what we're trying to achieve at the moment. You know, success is the big house and the flash car and, you know, keeping up with the Joneses, where, you know, we can redefine success to be whatever we feel we need it to be.
That's
you know,
right.
if I can't send my daughters to Oxford or Cambridge, that doesn't mean that they're going to be failures, or I'm a failure, or me and my wife are failures as parents. If my daughter decides at 16 that she wants to, you know, instead of going to university, you know, get a job, and she, you know, stays on the right path and she gets a job and she, you know, builds up her career, her portfolio that way, I'm going to back it the same. I'm going to back it the same way, and that's still success. You know,
of course.
You know, so I think we are in a position where we can redefine success to suit our, and that will, you know, make us more conscious and make us more kind of proactive in kind of building our community the way it should be.
Yeah, but the influences around us is a lot, isn't it? If you look at social media and you look at, you know, like sometimes when I see, you know, even my certain members of my family, and you think, why do you think that success means you have to have X or wear a certain brand, you know? Or I find it like, where does that come from? Where is that need? But I do think it's that everybody, all humans, has a sense of belonging. Do you know what I mean? We all want to be accepted in some way. You know what I mean?
Of course, you want to be part of the tribe, isn't it?
Yeah, I just think it's really important.
Could you elaborate though on the steps to success? As you,
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think if we're going into success for me, which has been in different realms, but let's take business wise, I just think let's talk about business first. I think you have to know what you want to do, be very clear, do your research. Who are your competitors? Is this unique? Is there a need? What is the demand? Who is my audience? All of those key things. Yeah. One thing I find is that we're not very good when it comes to financial literacy. Not at all. You know, really understanding the stock market. Sorry?
As a people, yeah?
Yeah. You know, even like when I talk to my elders about their will and money, their houses, that they've got, they're like got their own internal bank. If they know what's the difference between good credit and bad credit, and that having credit is not a bad thing. It's how you use that credit to perpetuate. All these people you see rich, it's not out. They don't take the money out of their pocket to fund things. It's having good revolving credit.
Good credit.
So it's about having these conversations. Yeah. So for me, when I started my business, it was about what I wanted to do. It was about having a legacy that I could hand down. So it's not having a car, it's having something that for years after I'm gone. Because for me, when I used to see buildings which says, you know, John Smith and Son, 1896 or something like that, and it's still there standing, and it's generationally. That's what appealed to me. That I know that I can try and make it a little bit easier for my children, and putting the things in place. I also think it's about state of mind. It's about doing the work on yourself. You know, believe it or not, I've been to counselling. I've found out about who I am, what makes me tick, what's the lows, all the stuff really good for me to find about who I was as an individual. But I think if it's business, you need to do your homework. If, let's say, we talk about the black market and what it's worth, over 32 billion pounds. It's worth over 32 billion pounds. So to me, if you want to do, I don't know, a business in car manufacturing or whatever, find out how much that sector's worth, and then deciding, you know what, I want 10% of that. I want 15% of that, and then work backwards on the steps that you're going to do it. It's also about, it sounds a bit cheesy, it's about networking, mixing with people. But you know what? Mixing with people that put you outside your comfort zone.
Right.
Because, you know, I've mixed with people. I'm not a royalist. Everybody knows I'm not a royalist at all. But I've been to Buckingham Palace. I've mixed with people to try and work out what's going on that sector and what's going on in that field. Mixed with people who claim to be highly educated and stuff, and learn a lot of things. But do you know what? I didn't feel inferior. So it's making sure that you know and mix with people who can give you further advice as well. Nobody knows it all. So I think you have to really look at your networks as well. You know, who are you mixing with? Who can propel me? Because I just think if you're with people who all have the same mindset, how do you push forward?
True.
You know?
And getting away. You're all thinking, yeah, it's true. Desmond.
I think that's really important. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Desmond, you had another question?
Hi, Desmond.
Interesting presentation. But I sort of had this sort of thing about this sort of idea between success and achievement. And for me personally, I wouldn't know what success looked like, but I do know what achieving a goal looks like. So in terms of, at 70 now, I've set myself many goals in the past. I'm still here and I'm setting more. But I would not say that I've been successful or not successful.
But I remember when I first started, I said success is very subjective.
Yeah.
It's what do you view as success?
But a goal for me is very
tangible.
Is very objective in terms of I know where I am in the journey. I know what I need to do, and I know when it's completed. So that for me is very objective, not subjective. So I was asked recently whether I see myself as successful. I said, well, you'd have to ask somebody else that, because I don't know.
But I think it's also about what you view as success. You know, like you're saying goals, it's what I'm saying. It's what I would see as, I would use the word tangible. You set your goal, you work towards it, you can tick it off, achieved. So,
succeed.
You know, like for me, I went, studied, passed, tick. And set up my business, tick. You know what I mean?
Would you see I've got things, success?
But I think, but no, I said at the start, success for me is having the time, because I think time is the most valuable thing. Yeah. So it's for me, it's about having the time to be able to drop my children off to school, pick them up. Yeah. Go into parents' evenings. If I want to get on a plane to go somewhere, I can. If my dad needed me, I can. I could just get on the thing. I'm not, restrictive. So it gives me choices and it gives me time with the people that I love. That, to me, personally, is success.
Okay.
That's what I said. It's a personal objective,
which is important, because
sorry, Mark.
don't
just putting yourself in that position where.
Sorry, Skip.
Yeah, go on, man.
Your hands up.
Sorry, go on, man.
Sorry, because I don't put my hand up. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, but one of
naughty.
I would think the main successes, and I'm not yeah, I'm not gonna say that it's not this for everybody, but I'm just talking about my people still. One of the main successes I would think, when you look at, like, you know, our reality and position out there, would be the family. Yeah, because as everybody knows, you know, a lot of us come from broken homes. You understand? And that in itself has left us with issues. So one of the main successes would to be, if we are gonna make a family, build a family unit, obviously would be to maintain that, keep that, continue that. You understand? Until, you know, man and woman together, kids, you have your kids grow up, you know, see mum and dad together, balance, you know, see them working through the difficulties of life, relationships. That's a success also. These is very important as well, especially, I think, for us as the Black community.
I mean, I'll agree with that.
That
but
is
also,
a big success.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. But also, like you said, Diane, putting yourself in a position where you are able to do the things that you would like to do and want to do with your family and so forth. Having that time, but you have to be in that position so you can do that. So
yeah, and think as you think
striving.
about, yeah, definitely, Spence, because think about what you just said, Marvin. I'm married and divorced. Yeah, I could have had children from that. You know, no one I did would never have thought I would be divorced. Never. Yeah. But it's, to me, what does, you know, when you say family, I hear what you're saying, but there's blended families that are very successful. To me, even if, let's say, that family breaks down for whatever reason, I think as long as you maintain that relationship. My parents were divorced. A lot of people didn't even know they were divorced. They were divorced, but they made every decision about us together. Do you know what I mean? I had
it can be done,
amazing parents that co-parented, you know, the hit word, co-parented, and I came out perfectly fine. So I think it's about, if the family does break down, is what does that look like? Because normally it's around bitterness. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't need to be that way.
No.
I think you can have successful families and values and all of these things. In an ideal world, I hear you, Marvin, that everybody would be great if the family unit could stay together. But you know, that's not reality, unfortunately.
Co-parenting can work for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think it's about mindset again. It's about, is it about me, or is it about me making sure that my children do well, get good experiences, has good values, etc. so forth. Mark.
True.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mark.
Diane, can you tell us a little bit about this Swim Foundation?
So that's my charity, and we are very.
What does it stand for first and foremost?
It's SWIM stands for Strength Within Me Foundation, and it's all around supporting children who have been subject to domestic violence. And the reason why we only deal with children, we get so many calls from women, we don't deal with the women, we signpost them, we only deal with the children, because I believe that children are the forgotten victims, because it's what they witness, and you know, and it's about the environment that they come from, because unfortunately we create victims or perpetrators. And if we can break that cycle through education, support, that's what the charity does. I mean, I could give the statistics of children are taken into care, and the we talked about knife crime, or well, let's call it violent youth crime, and the association between that and domestic violence, based on what they've been around. Because if you think as a child, if you witness violence all the time of being the answer, what's going to be different when you step outside your house? None. That's going to always be the first thing that you go to. So we do a lot of work around that. And it took us 3 years to lobby government, which we did. We lobbied and they threw out, because I wanted healthy relationships to be taught in schools, all schools, as compulsory. It was thrown out a number of times by Parliament. And then in 2020, it was made law. So now every young person has to do healthy relationships in school. So that's what the charity does. And I'm very passionate about that, because I'm very passionate about anything to do with young people, and changing that narrative for them.
Can you, 1 minute, Smith. Sapphire. Sorry, Sapphire. I don't even never got it right. Sorry. 1 minute, brother. Could you tell me your author as well? Yeah?
Yes, I wrote a book called All About Me. That's what it's called. No, I've got 2 books, and it's called All About Me. And the reason why I say that, it's not all about me. In the book, it really talks about some of the ups and downs I've had in my journey. And it talks about, if you don't put yourself first, in the sense of doing your own healing, your own just training your mind to think and feel that you're worth it, you're no good to anyone else. So everything in life starts with you. And sometimes we have to be a little bit selfish in regards to ourselves, because a lot of the times we don't give ourselves self-love, we don't give ourselves nurturing. And
sometimes
we
don't think we deserve it, didn't it? Like, we don't think we deserve it.
Yeah, but we do. And if we don't do it, we're no good to anybody else. If you don't love yourself first, how can you expect somebody else to love you?
Okay, go ahead, Smith. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. Evening, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
No,
good evening.
Hi, Dr. Rhiney. You mentioned about looking after the children. Firstly, in terms of the age criteria.
What's the age groups?
Yes.
So we used to do from year 6, which is 10. We now do from year 7, and that's all because of politics, when you do with safeguarding and stuff like that. So we do from year 7, which is 11, up to 21.
Okay. Okay. So in terms of, you say you don't deal with the parents or the women, or the men, because it can be men being abused as well.
Yeah, we can, but we don't. We signpost.
Okay, is that IDVA service signposting, or
is it? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, so is it IDVA service signposting?
Yeah, it could be. It could be a number of could be signposting you to another organisation that specifically deals with women or men or same couples, same sex couples. Just like
send them to Mandem Chat.
we only deal with the children, because they have very specific needs.
Okay. Yeah. The reason I'm asking this question is because I have a gentleman that is going through this phase. IDVA service mostly is for predominantly women.
It is.
There is no men signposting. Like Desmond says, send them here. But apart from here, where else can he be recommended to?
And there are some male organisations. I can definitely give Mark some afterwards and send him some links, and then he can pass them on to you. There are male organisations out there. Yeah.
Because it's just that stigma, so he doesn't really want.
There are some very good, very, very good organisations out there.
Okay. I think there's Fathers Matter or something.
They're there. They're there.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more last questions before we wrap up?
Yeah, Mandem Chat.
Yeah, but
yes, Queen. Yes, Queen.
Yes, Queen.
It's been a pleasure listening to you.
Yeah. Can I ask, as Doctor of Psychiatry,
Mhm.
I'm just trying to work
Think
out how to
about
word
it. Think
this.
about
Yeah,
it.
trying to get it right. You work with, do you work within a lot of mental health?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't as much as I used to because I'm going to retire early. I'm taking a step back.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, I do. But I have a private practice. Unfortunately, I'm not part of the NHS.
Not part of NHS.
Sorry, NHS don't do it for me.
Don't do it.
Them don't pay enough.
They don't pay enough. Well, you have to know
Know
your
your
worth.
worth. Know your worth.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay. All right. Well, okay. One more question, Sydney. Brother Sydney, go ahead.
Hello, Dr. Rhiney. Thank you very much for coming to
Hi,
talk to us today.
no problem.
I was really, really impressed that you spoke to Coretta Scott King.
Oh yeah,
And
she was amazing. I've spoken to, you know what, I've been blessed to interview people like Maya Angelou, some real
wow.
amazing people. We've had personal shout outs from Obama. I've worked with certain stuff in regards to Obama. So yeah, I've been able to have conversations with some very interesting people, and I'm just myself. I ask the questions that nobody else wants to ask because I'm just real. So you ask just the normal questions. Because to me, I don't put nobody, not my parents, on pedestals. We're all
Wow.
human beings. We
Yeah.
all come from the same place, and I would just ask the questions that I want asked, like just normal everyday stuff, like Michelle Obama. Do you wear your headscarf to bed? Come on, man. Us women.
Keep it real. Keep
You
it
just
real.
got to ask the questions, isn't it?
Yeah. My two questions were how do you get about to obviously your position in the community has allowed you to do this, but how do you go about getting in touch with these high profile personalities? And the other question was, how do I get to watch it? Well, how do I get to watch what you've done?
Oh, so some of my interviews are out there. So you can Google me and then certain things will come up. And how do I get to? Do you know what? I just chat to whoever I want. If there's something that people would think, oh, I can't ask them that, or I can't contact these people. I don't care. I just ask the question. If they come on board, if they say they're happy to be interviewed by me, that's fine. If they don't, okay, they're lost as far as I'm concerned. I genuinely think they're lost, not mine.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's because I'm in the media world. It's yes, she does. Whoever put that in the question, yes, she does. Yeah. So I just get people who come. Either people will actually ask to be interviewed by me, or I get requests quite easily.
Well, thank you very much for your contribution to our community, and I look forward to seeing more of your good works out there.
All right, thank you so much.
All right.
I've got a quick one before we wrap
Me
up.
too. Yes.
Yeah.
Me too as well. Go on, Martin. Go first.
Music. What are you listening to at the moment? What are you feeling?
Me, I am old school Jamaican. I love my reggae. I love
Gregory
what am I
Isaac,
listening
Dennis
to?
Brown.
I like Gregory Isaac, Dennis Brown. I'm actually listening to I loved Dennis Brown, and my mum was into music and stuff. But what did I listen to today? Natural Mystic. I love that.
Okay.
I just love the bass on it. It just puts me in a good mood.
You haven't told them, Diane, that you used to be a bit of a sound girl, innit?
Yeah, no, I used to like. I love.
Don't let out the
reggae.
secret.
Oh gosh.
Must admit, I wasn't very good at listening to the. It's always too smoky and too loud, but I do love the music was on point. On point.
Okay, can I ask you a quick question before you go there?
You can.
Tell us something about you that no one doesn't really know. Can you just talk? Soon as you're saying about asking people these questions.
And you know what? I play golf. A lot of people don't think I play golf.
Okay.
I'm a lifesaver. I love swimming.
Is golf as relaxing as they say it is?
It really is. Because you're actually playing against yourself.
Right.
And I'm very competitive like that. You know,
even with yourself,
I'm competitive with myself.
Even with yourself.
I push myself to do better. Yeah. And like Mark just said, a lot of people do not think that I like reggae or dance hall, or so I don't like the ones that are slack. I don't like all that kind of stuff. Let me just tell you, I like the old school
original
vibes. Gregory Isaac, Bob Marley, Dennis Brown. You know, so a lot of people don't think they think. Do
you're not
like
old
that
enough.
Kind of
You're
thing?
not old. You don't look old enough.
Here we go. Here comes the charmer again.
People like me, so no.
All right, Diane. Thanks a lot for popping by. I appreciate it and spending the time with us.
No problem.
Pleasure meeting you.
And you guys, and keep up the Mandem chat, and I'm sure you'll have some amazing guests, because I know Mark's good like that, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, man.
Mark's
Tough,
like,
man.
Marvin.
Name tough like that, man.
Yeah, come again.
Respect,
all right. Well, you all take care and have a good evening.
Cheers, thank you.
If you know anyone who you might think might be good to come on,
I do know someone who'd be very, very good, but I'll tell you afterwards. Yeah, he'd be very, very good. He's a young black man who's doing big things. Went from being accused of a murder he didn't commit and was on remand for 6 months. Was acquitted at the Old Bailey, which is very rare, for a murder charge. And now he is one of the most prominent young black men in this country. Wow. He's amazing.
I've never heard of him.
Yeah, Kenny Imathadon. Google him, and you see all that comes up.
Because you've got quite a strong presence on the media still. There's a lot of stuff on there when I was looking you up still.
Yeah, unfortunately, God almighty.
One bag of things.
One piece of something, boy. All right, we're going to give thanks, yeah?
All right. Well, have a good time. Have a good evening, rest of you. Bye.
All right, thanks.
Bye. Bye.
All right, you too. Thank you. Bye.